What's up? Episode 7, I believe. Can't believe we made it this far. So, it's June 1st today. Originally, I was going to do an episode on the, what's it called? The, wedding industry. But because it is, Shahidi week and, June 84... all that kind of stuff, I decided to do an episode on that because I've seen a lot of Khalistan is kind of becoming part of the mainstream. I'll show you an example right off rip. Oh, actually, yeah, while I'm doing this, check out the merch. All right, you heathens. houseofjoel.com, get 20% off using code E2. We've actually been moving some shirts now, which is awesome. So check it out, grab a shirt, houseofjoel.com, use code E2 for 20% discount at checkout, and I hope you guys enjoy. So basically though, there's podcasts I listen to. The fact that this podcast, right, it used to be called Come Town. Then it got rebranded to the Adam Friedland Show, and then Indian War. Right here. They talk about it. Hear ye, hear! I need to get YouTube Premium, man. This is horrible. I can't even skip this ad. Wow. Okay, here we go.
Everybody.
China is the best at the wait and see.
They support in Canada the government has and this is
okay.
If I named all the countries I could think of, there's probably 10 I could name. Mm-hmm. All of them are at war right now. So that's a world war.
Mm-hmm. Canada's not at war.
Yes, they are.
Are they?
With fucking India. Did you not see this?
No, that's hilarious.
The Indian government has and this has been, I've been losing my mind. They've have what is it called? The Kalashi movement or something?
Obviously, it's supposed to be Khalistan, but whatever. I'll give a white boy a pass.
It's called Kalshi, I think, is the name of it.
Yeah,
but
there's the same thing. Yeah.
No, the Indian government's I guess there's an Indian mafia in Canada, and I barely have looked into this, but I think they're killing Sikhs because the Sikhs have a separatist movement that they support in Canada that in the Punjab region they want to set up an autonomous state. So Canada's accused India of backing these mafia tactics in Canada to go after Sikhs.
Oh, they're taking hits out on Sikhs.
Something like that, and so India is now severing diplomatic ties and.
Oh, they're mad.
They're mad, but they might go to war with Canada.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, 3-6 Mafia. I'm really trying not to be a hater now. How can India be at war with India? Can I be the next? That's crazy. I can say that's crazy every 2 minutes. My favorite geopolitics podcast. Okay, so basically, my point being is that, they're talking about this on comedy podcasts now, right? There was that Andrew Schultz bit too, where he talks about Hardeep Singh Nijjar. For those needing a refresher, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, Andrew Schultz. I fucking butchered that. Right here.
I swear to God, 2 weeks ago before I came here, I remember thinking, what the fuck am I gonna talk about? I was so concerned, I actually Googled what the fuck is going on in Canada, and there was a headline, Punjabi. That's what I'm talking about. My Jets in the building, baby. Let's go. all the way from the Bramley City Center, all the way. I saw the headline, Punjabi, it said, Punjabi separatists assassinated. I said, oh no. They got Trudeau. They got him. They got Jastinder. How the hell?
Yeah, everyone loses their shit when Jack got mentioned.
Did they force him to kiss his wife on camera? How did they? Then I looked up the guy who's assassinated's name. His first name is Hardeep. His last name is spelled Nijjjer. That's too close. That's too fucking close. I'm sorry. White people, we can't.
So you got Andrew Schultz talking about Hardeep Singh Nijjar. You got the Adam Friedland podcast talking about the Khalistan movement. Like it's getting pretty mainstream. And when things get mainstream, they're never gonna usually go to like the average person on the street in the Sikh community and like their opinions on the matter. They're usually gonna end up going to dumbos who write like bullshit scholarly papers and articles. And like for example, there's like a book. Hold up, Khalistan Explained. This chick is just a straight nut job right here. We'll get into this video later, but this video right here, this guy basically makes the connection. Like in his research, he's basically saying that Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was a pawn of Congress. Like he was in bed with Congress and basically doing the bidding of Congress, which doesn't make any sense. And we'll break it down. Like we'll go through the whole history and stuff, and I'm gonna try my best to not butcher this topic. The pod's gonna be called Khalistan Exposed, you know, gotta hit the clickbait, but I'm gonna try to look at this from the most okay, I'm not objective. I'm literally wearing like a Khalistan-esque hoodie. Sure, I'll admit that I'm not objective, but we're gonna use as much logic and rationality that if I'm talking to an Indian Hindu, yeah, they're just like, yeah, fuck you. We don't trust you at anything else. But if I was gonna like actually debate this like in Oxford Union, I want to win that debate by bringing the best points, the best logic, the best rationality, steeped in history, steeped in Sikh philosophy, and Sikh beliefs. So that's how we're gonna put this down. And then also talk about just like how governments have, you know, throughout history always just acted. You know, the chance of like how many times has a government really done anything that you're like, yeah, you guys did that right. And so to start, I'm just gonna show a little snippet from what do you call it? From a little doc. All right, and just to get the hype going, you know. We'll just get the hype going a little bit. So here we go.
ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਰਮਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਫਰਸ਼ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਟ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ 100 ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਸਿਰ ਲੱਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਟ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਭਾਰੀ ਖੂਨ ਡੁੱਲਿਆ ਇਸ ਪਵਿੱਤਰਤਾ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਇਮ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ.
Okay, what the hell? All right, anyways. So that quote from Sant Jarnail Singh basically tells you like the importance that the Harmandir Sahib has to like Sikh history in its essence. For it to even be standing to this day, it has gone through multiple regime changes, multiple bloodbaths, multiple destructions and reconstructions, multiple switchovers in hands. Like Harmandir Sahib has gotten so much more shine than maybe some other prominent Taks of the Guru because of just how it's always been this epicenter of like Sikh life. Okay, so the way we're gonna start this, let's start in a bit of a sense on like a little bit of like where a rift began between This is my theory based off of historical fact, but this is like my theory, okay? A lot of this stuff is my opinions based upon facts. So the Sikh Anglo-Sikh wars happen, they fight the British, right? And so this is my theory about why there's a rift, a really old generational beef underneath a lot of what's happened between the Sikhs and the rest of the Indian subcontinent, let's say, which includes the Muslims and the Hindus. So in the Sikh Anglo-Sikh War, or the Anglo-Sikh War, not Sikh Anglo-Sikh War. Sikh, oh my God. My brain's not working right now. Anglo-Sikh War. There's some pretty hype pictures though, not even gonna lie. But if they ever loaded. Okay, so the Anglo-Sikh Wars happen. 2 of them back to back, and the Sikhs lose. But if you look at it geographically, Punjab is all the way up north compared to, the rest of India, right? Punjab is right over here, as you can see. And so when the British are making their way through India, they're essentially coming in through like Mumbai and, the middle of India and making their way upwards as they are conquering their way through. And so what they end up doing is, as they're conquering their way through, they're bolstering up their military forces, right? They're doing almost like an auxiliary situation where the people that they're capturing, they're making them join the ranks. And so by the time they get to Punjab and, the Anglo-Sikh wars pop off, which we'll cover at a completely different episode, the army of the British is highly supported, not by British East Indian troops, but by these auxiliaries, as if you want to call them, in the British army, or British Expeditionary Force, or British East Indian or East Indian Trading Company Army, whatever. And so the British are able to like outnumber, in a sense, the Sikh forces because they've gotten all these Hindus, all these Muslims to join their ranks, and now they're gonna fight against the Sikh Empire after Ranjit Singh's death. And so they fight, they brawl, the Sikhs end up losing, and then the British want to absorb the Sikhs into the army. But there was a resentment because they're like, all you like turncoats, like you all joined the British, y'all beefed us and we lost our empire, and so because of that we're going to hold that to you. Don't worry, bro. One day we'll get our comeuppance on you. Basically, in a sense, is how they were kind of going with that. And so what ends up happening is when the rest of India is like, oh my God, what did we do? This is messed up. And they did the Indian Mutiny. The only people that helped the British, well, not maybe the only, but one of the biggest people, or biggest, the help of the British were the Sikh soldiers. I need to figure out how to get rid of these ads, man. Or just no music, I guess, would probably be the better way to go. Hold up, I'll just put one, like an hour one. Okay. Okay, this one's chill. So when the Indian Mutiny happens, the Sikhs side with the British because they're like, you guys took away our empire, right? To the Indian mutineers, the Hindus and the Muslims, like, you guys took away our empire. We're not helping you now. Now that you guys realize that siding with the British was dumb, fuck you guys. We're gonna go help the British because of your actions, we lost our empire. And so we're going to get our comeuppance on you guys, and we're going to help the British. And so the Sikhs helped the British, and they repelled the mutiny, which then causes the British to go like super ham on like how aggressive they are with like tamping down the population. But in response, the Sikhs that joined the British Army, right, not just Sikhs in general, but the ones that were joining the British Army, end up getting a lot of a rep. Like a rep boost, like an XP boost, you can call it, where they get you can almost say some level of favoritism, because a lot of the best land is obviously in Punjab, where the 5 rivers flow, right? There's a saying, or there's like the way they used to talk about it, like in this area, west Pakistan today, or West Punjab today, around from Lahore to Islamabad to whatever these like little trashy ass cities are, between the rivers, they say that the land is so fertile you can just throw seeds in there and they'll grow. Okay, I promise you we're gonna get there. So from Multan to Lahore to like even Peshawar, like this entire area just was amazing land. And so whenever the British Six forces or whatever fought, and like, you know, after World War One or after wars, they would end up getting so much land in that area. They got some of the best land in probably the world when it came to farming. The only other place that you could think of is like the Nile Delta and like Ukraine. You know, Punjab's land is probably some of the best growing fertile land in the entire on planet Earth, because the quality of the water, the quality of the soil, everything just like multiplies into making it such a, like, it's been a basin for civilization for thousands of years at this point, and it has seen some of the most cross mixing of different cultures, right? That region of Punjab has seen Alexander the Great, it's seen the Persian conquerors, it's seen up to like Mongols, it's seen, what has it not seen, to be honest? Like almost to be a legitimate civilization, you would have had to like cross paths there. You know, Western civilization got in, Islamic civilization got in, the Mongol civilization, like that area has so much history within it. Okay. So with this deal that the Sikhs kind of made with the British, in a sense, you know, they're getting a lot of good treatment from fighting the wars of the British, right? Or doing the British's bidding. You know, Sikhs weirdly have a history. Now, this is another thing. Sikhs have a history all around the world, all right? Sikhs were placed in Hong Kong. So there's like a sizable population in Hong Kong because the British sent the Sikhs there to be police. The Sikhs have a population in Singapore, in Malaysia. You know, that's because of the British, right? The Sikhs also have like a level in Kenya as well. And I think Uganda, I'm pretty sure. But Kenya for sure I know. And then obviously in Europe, right? The UK, Canada. Like the Sikhs, just through proxy of being with the British, they're all over the world. And then they also end up, just by Sikhs being Sikhs, in Japan, in America, in all these other places in the world, right? For example, a person I do want to talk to about a lot on the podcast is Professor Puran Singh. This guy's goated. You know, he found his way back into Sikhi. He wrote a beautiful book called On the Paths of Life. I have his book right here. I'm like reading it slowly, called the Book of the 10 Masters. You know, he went and studied in Tokyo to become like a chemist. He had crazy amounts of knowledge. The way he writes about Sikh, he's so beautiful and poetic. He knew multiple languages, you know, Persian, Hindi, German, Japanese, Punjabi, English. He writes some of his books in straight up English, and it's amazing. The guy's life is insane. He runs into Walter Whitman, the famous American author. Like, just what a wild story that this guy had. And then just all these Sikhs, everywhere they kind of went, they were trailblazers. Like everywhere. And you also got to think, at this time of the British period, there's like wherever, like, I'm not saying just Sikhs went everywhere. They did send Hindus and Muslims, right? And so, but it was always that the Gurdwara, the Sikh community, was also always the heart. It was always the nucleus of the Indian communities abroad. So, like, if you had a Gurdwara in BC, you would not just see Sikhs there. Muslims and Hindus would also congregate there. It was the heart for all the different communities to essentially come together. The Sikhs allowed for that to happen, and from those communities, there was always some unique Sikh person. You know, you have the first Sikh in the army. I completely forgot his name. First Sikh in the U.S. Army. Bhagat Singh Thind. This OG right here. He's one of the first people, and then he totally just like they just like, we just balled out wherever. But for those that were not in the army and didn't want to join the British or anything like that, life did suck, right? We all know that the British were mad gay about a lot of other things. So what happens is, now we're going to talk about so that's just kind of a backstory with the British situation, you know? We'll get to partition because everything in totality matters, you know? It does matter for those of you that don't understand. And I'm just hitting all the bold points. I'm not going into the nitty-gritty about this stuff. So the British are in India, and they at some point, or not some point, but like essentially the Sikhs don't have control over their own Gurdwara, which is what later gives rise to the SGPC. But before that, you know, it was, I don't know if it was the Mahants, the Masans, or like who, like, let me just check who had control of the Gurdwaras during British India. Oh yeah, the Mahants. The Mahants had it, yeah. And so that's why when you hear a lot of the time people are like, yo, this committee is just a bunch of new Mahants, it's because of this. So this control that they have is really corrupt, messed up. And then there's a very famous story of the Jaito Morcha where, god damn, man, I should have, I'm just like doing it off the top of the dome, right? So story behind, I know the buzz, but I want to give it a little bit at least more. Okay, so the Jaito Morcha was part of the Gurdwara reform movement. Again, this gave birth to the SGPC. The Mahants were the custodians that were corrupt and collaborated with the British and deviated from Sikh religious tenets. And so the incident at Jaito is a town in the princely state of Nabha, ruled by Maharaja Ripu Daman Singh. The Maharaj was sympathetic to the Akalis and the Indian independence movement. This made him suspect in the eyes of the British. The British forced the Maharaj to abdicate, citing administrative failures, but in reality it was because of his political leanings. This action outraged the Akali leadership, who saw it on attack on Sikh autonomy and a religious insult. The Morcha begins. The SGPC decided to organize a protest at the Gurdwara Gangsar Sahib in Jaito. Police brutality disrupted the ceremony when they tried to do an Akhand Path, and the beating and arresting of participants would further escalate the situation. And in response, the SGPC, which it was more the movement, the reform movement, launched a Jaito Morcha, sending daily batches of peaceful protesters, Jathas, to Jaito. Each Jatha walked from Amritsar or other Sikh areas to Jaito unarmed and prepared to be arrested or beaten. Thousands of Sikhs participated over 2 years. Many were imprisoned or subjected to torture, but they maintained strict non-violence and discipline. Under immense pressure from the Sikh community and growing national attention, the British and the Nabha administration relented. In 1925, the Akalis were finally allowed to complete the Akhand Path at Gangsar Sahib without interference. The same year, the Gurdwara Act of 1925 was passed, officially transferring control of major Sikh shrines to the SGPC. Okay, so this footage right here is of the Jaito Morcha, essentially. So like the Singhs would be getting ready. And they would all meet. I think they were meeting at Akal Takht Sahib or at Harmandir Sahib. I could be wrong. Yeah, they marched from Sri Harmandir Sahib. So like they're basically given like garlands around their neck. And they would just go day after day for years. They're given water. And so this is the footage. Like this footage right here is exactly what was happening. They would go on the road, and then they would just like walk non-violently, like again and again. Some would just get beaten and like thrown down to the side of the road. You know, some died, some were like deeply injured, but a lot of this was documented. And so I'm going to make this argument based off of some critical facts. But this is where the civil rights movement got their whole non-violent shtick from. Because Martin Luther gets it from Mahatma Gandhi, non-violent civil disobedience. Don't delete your VADA. I don't know what that even means. Okay, so Martin Luther King gets the idea of non-violent civil disobedience from Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi got the idea from the Jaito Morcha. He saw the Sikhs doing it and said, hey, we should do this in mass. What vids am I deleting? Don't delete your vids. I didn't delete any of the vids. Can you please elaborate on that, sir? Just in the chat. Okay. And so Gandhi learned this. I think he was traveling around in Punjab, and you know, this footage was also, and then he basically took this to his like more weaker level, where they would just kind of protest and be like civilly disobedient. But it was the Jaito Morcha that really, like, they just got their ass handed to them every single day. Non-violence, no weapons, no nothing, and they just kept showing up, and then they kept getting, you know, whooped. And I think I remember reading back in the day, there was like a quote that said some guy basically said something along the lines of like, I saw like 100 Jesus Christs a day, like something along the lines like that. I couldn't find the quote, but I remember reading something like that. I could be wrong, but that was basically what he had said when he saw the footage of the Jaito Morcha. So this happens, SGPC is formed, which then obviously is going to be important later on in the story, because the SGPC is a direct like part of this entire story. And so and then after, another extreme event that happens is Jallianwala Bagh, because as I was saying, that the Sikhs that were abroad, they started organizing into the Gadar movement, right? You had Kartar Singh Sarabha, and yet a bunch of these Sikhs, mostly, it's always Sikhs, bro. It's never gonna be crazy Hindu characters. It's never Muslim guys. Like, it was never any of them. It was always the Sikhs that they put themselves on the line. You know, all the statistics that are counted, that are proven, show that majority of the lives given, the majority of the arrests, everything was always Sikhs. And like, okay, let's just say how percentage of each religion giving their lives for Indian independence. Sikhs made 90% of the sacrifices despite forming only 1.5% of the population. Think about that. So the gurus really were onto something the way they, like, this is what you got to understand. When you're a Sikh, when you're Khalsa, when you're like in this lineage, you exist beyond the realm of the average man. And this kind of goes to my point. You know, there's not these amazing trailblazers, and I've never seen it. I've never read about these crazy tripped out guys. Like The Last Samurai, I love that movie. Like, Tom Cruise's character makes more sense as a Sikh. Like, that's actually a lot more believable of his whole story arc in that movie than an Agora guy. Because Agora guy is just going to be like, I want to get paid and I want to get the fuck out. I want to get paid. I want to drink. I want to fuck your women. And then, like, if things start getting a little bit too rough, I'm not gonna like die with you guys. I'd rather die in my own country getting drunk. But the Sikhs, they'll like be like, yo, this is what the right thing is to do. Standing with you guys, I will do it. You know? Again, we haven't had our due. Like, in the beginning, I'm showing you all those like comedy clips and those guys talking about it. Like, they're starting to, again, like, it's starting to boil to the surface. But the problem is that we as the Sikhs don't get the narrative aspect of it. We're not able to talk about the narrative of it, and then a bunch of Dindus and Lundus and Loleg, they get to talk about our history to the rest of the world, and then we're left out of the conversation, and no one really gets to see our side properly or efficiently. So, this is what Sikhs are doing. I don't know about the rest of India, but like, it just seems like there wasn't much going on, because then you get Jallianwala Bagh that happens. So the Jaito Morcha happens in the mid, 1920s, 1925, I think it said. And so then Jallianwala Bagh happens. Massacre date. Okay, so this happened even before. So like within a 10-year period, you get Jallianwala Bagh, you get the Jaito Morcha, and so there's like a clear uptick in Sikh rebellion, which is probably why some of those Maharajas started to get very towards the Akali Dal. Okay, so now the Sikhs and the British, they're on some beef thing, and you know the original story of Jallianwala Bagh is they wanted to like bomb Harmandir Sahib, but then everyone's like, dude, don't do that. So instead, they just killed everyone at Jallianwala Bagh. These guys are such J's, bro, for real though. Anyways, what ends up happening is World War II kicks off. The Sikhs again fight for the British more than they needed to because the numbers we had were just like insane. And I would love to do like a World War II episode where we just talk about like Sikhs in World War II and plus like just World War II in general. I think it's so insane and interesting. Like most people don't know this, but there was this cannibalistic Japanese regiment and they were eating the POWs when they were fighting against the British Indian Army. And the POWs they ate were like the Punjabi POW Sikhs. This guy on we'll have to get to this bitch later, but there's a video by Mark Felton, Japanese cannibals. Right here, the cannibal army, Japanese soldiers abused and ate Indian POWs. You could watch it and they let you know it's like the Punjab regiment specifically, so you know it's the Sikhs that were getting eaten and stuff. Okay, so World War II happened, and basically the the British cannot keep their control on India anymore, and one of their like ways of like conquering or like keeping the country under control was through divide and conquer tactics. So that's why like the Sikhs were sent to Hong Kong or other places, because they would take your people. They would take people that they knew were highly malleable to their desires, and they would send them to different places to rule over other populations, because then you would get stuck in a beef between your oppressors, the oppressors' middlemen. So you would basically, like, if you're the Hong Kong Chinese people, you would be beefing the Sikh police officers rather than the British. It was a tactic that's always been used. Like, it's also one that you see during World War II with the French. And so, long story short, the Germans let the Vichy French control France. And the French resistance never is actually fighting the Nazis or the Gestapo. They're fighting other Frenchmen that are on the other side, the Vichy French. And so the French resistance that's fighting them is basically getting caught fighting the middleman, not really ever getting to the higher ups. And so this is like the type of tactics that the British used, where they sent Sikhs as like dominating roles across places, or they would even do the same thing to us, right? Like the Mahants. Let me see. I'm pretty sure the Mahants are not Sikhs. Were the Mahants Hindus? Were the Mahants Hindus? Okay, well, this one's saying is this Reddit thread: the idols of Hindu gods were placed in the Sri Mandir type complex to which they were worshipped according to Hindu rituals. Mahants Sadhu Ram. So I'm pretty certain that the Mahants were like Hindu to an extent. And so that idea is, again, like you're putting people that we don't agree with. Like Sikhi is completely abolishing, the Patthar Puja of the Hindus. And we're also not like on the Allah of the Muslim thing, but you're making them run our institutions. You cause strife between the communities, essentially. And so this strife again is compounding over the fact that I said earlier, is that we have basically lost our empire due to collusion from the Indian Hindus and Muslims who joined the British to basically fuck us out of our empire. So there's like an insane beef like building. And then the Mahants adds to the issue. So 47 rolls around, and the British were bankrupted by America by the Lend-Lease bill, and they just could not afford to govern India anymore. It was, that country was in tatters. Like there was even like post-war rations that they were still having to deal with in Britain. It was like they were in shambles essentially. So they had to deconstruct their empire. And it was also like one of the parts of the Lend-Lease bill was that the British could not use the Suez Canal, which meant they would have to go around the Cape of Good Hope to get to India. Think of that. So the UK is right over here, right? United Kingdom. And so when they had to get to India by ship, they would go from London into the Mediterranean and down right here, the Suez Canal. As you can see, this like tight little corridor that was built. Right? As you can see, it basically touches the Mediterranean from Port Said and then comes out into the Red Sea. Or the Gulf of Suez, my bad. And then it goes into the Red Sea. And then from that, you would get out around Somalia, and then you'd go straight, it would be a straight shot across to Mumbai. The Lend-Lease bill, where, you know, because Britain didn't have a lot of money to give America, America basically said, like, yo, we want to become number one. We're going to make you, you know, like, fuck you, low-key. And so one of that was that they could not use the Suez Canal anymore to access their colonies. So they would have to go around the Cape of Good Hope, which is right around the tip of Africa. So it just wasn't possible anymore to run the... it was just not possible to run the colonies. They would have still, trust me, if none of that happened, and they were in a great monetary position, they would have doubled down on their colony, because France still doubled down on their colonies, you know, in Algeria or Morocco or whatever the fuck in West Africa. So the British would have 100% still tried to keep India. But it was just too bankrupt. They just couldn't at that point. And so it wasn't technically because of all this like independence, Gurdwara movement, the Sikhs fighting back. That didn't have much of a... that didn't do much. The Mahatma Gandhi thing did nothing, because like that's literally, if you're an oppressor, you would love that your oppressee or the people you're oppressing are down to do a non-violent movement, because you're like, yo, bless up, bro. Like, thanks. We don't even have to like you guys aren't even trying to fight us. Whereas like the Sikhs started to get more militant as like time was going on, you know. Gurdwara Singh Sarabha, like they were trying to smuggle guns and stuff. Like it was getting pretty real. Okay, so the British need to leave India. But because of their divide and conquer tactics, the communal tension between the Muslims and the Hindus is going to blow. It's literally so bad, because again, when you do shit like having Hindus run the Gurdwaras for the Sikhs and just vice versa, like all these weird, crazy, like psychological tactics, like they obviously knew what they were doing, you're going to cause real problems. And so the Muslim League is formed, and then, you know, Nehru and all of them are formed, and then they're basically going to divide up India into two, India and Pakistan. And this is where Sikhs get fucked. And so even though we had fought for the British in World War I, World War II, even though we helped them keep their power during the mutiny, we got the worst end of that deal. Now, one of the myths, and if you actually look into it, there's no evidence of this, is that a Khalistan or Sikh state was on the table. There was never that, because the British worked on a demographic system. I promise you, we're gonna get to Khalistan and 84. This all this stuff matters. This is all compounding throughout history and time. So there was never actually a moment where we were gonna get our home nation, because the British basically said to us, on a demographic basis, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't work. You guys are just too less. We would have to basically give you a country where you're the minority and you're ruling over majority, but we're giving Pakistan to them, and we're giving East Pakistan and India to the Muslims and the Hindus because they're the majority of those lands. So we will never ever give you guys your own homeland, because we might have been the minority ruling over the majority, but we're never going to let that happen for you guys. So the deal that was on the table was basically vacate Punjab, because Punjab was majority Muslim at that time, and like choose what side you guys want to go on, basically. And Master Tara Singh then was just like, fuck that. And was basically saying that if you guys take all of Punjab and give it to Pakistan, we will kill everybody. Every man, woman, and child will kill. We'll kill every single fucking white person. We'll kill everybody if you don't give us Punjab at least, and allow us to keep Punjab and most of our historical Gurdwara. And so Lahore and Amritsar by that point were like sister cities. You know, Amritsar is a more spiritual one, and Lahore was like the more like industrious center, you can call it. You know, Lahore had a big importance for the Sikhs. The sixth major bank, the Sikh Bank of Lahore, you know, that got appropriated into the Indian thing. Like, we lost a lot. So the British relinquish and they go, deal. We'll give you Punjab. And now the Sikhs at this point had to make a deal. Do we join the Musliman or do we join the Hindus? And there's like, I don't know if they say it straight up, but I think the idea was that like there's been like eternal beef with the Muslims. LOL, beef. And if we go to Pakistan, if we join them, they will slowly just cut at our numbers and do weird shit to us. And I think in that regard, we chose right. In the choosing Pakistan over India, in that moment in time, we did the right thing. Choosing India was the better move out of the two, because Sulh will do crazy stuff. And also when partition like kicks off, they did the worst like crazy shit. So they're cutting this, and they just sped it up. They just want to get the fuck out. And so they hastily do this. They cut the thing in like a week. They decide, and they just tell everyone like, you have to get on the other side. And so Sikhs had to do a lot of like moving. It was really like Sikhs got impacted the most, because again, like I was saying earlier, when the Sikhs were fighting for the British, a lot of the land that we got was located in the Pakistan side of things, where the land was just amazing. And now all those families, all those people had to dip. I'll give you a personal story. My daddy's dad was a captain in the army, in the British Indian Army. And that was basically like the highest rank I believe you could get, because above that were white officers. So like battalions and regiments of Indians were basically going to be led by British, because they just did not let that they would just not let that fall to they wouldn't allow like Indians to lead themselves, essentially. So white people had to lead them. So captain was the highest they got. And most of these guys that fought got good land. And so there was like a pind, it was called like Fojandi Kila or something, like Fojandi Pind or something like that, where a lot of like retired veterans all lived. And so my daddy's dad had like multiple murabbe of land, which is like hundreds of acres or some shit. Let me just check. He had like 14 murabba of land. A unit of area come to 25 kila, which is also the same as 10 hectares or 25 acres. So he had 15, so 15 times 25. So like 375 acres, which is like pretty crazy. And then when partition was gonna like when it was like on the table, he bought more. He bought even more land, because he's like, listen, borders change, but land doesn't. But when things like Rawalpindi started happening, and like there was like Sikhs started to get killed, right? So the Rawalpindi massacre happened before partition even started. Rawalpindi massacre. Okay, so this is just like a really crazy picture of the Rawalpindi massacre, but here. The 1947 Rawalpindi massacres refer to widespread violence, massacres, and rapes of Hindus and Sikhs by Muslim mobs in the Rawalpindi division of the Punjab province of British India in March of 1947. So it was the year of partition. So when did partition happen? Partition exact date. Okay, so the partition of India took place in August. So in March, 5 months before, 4 to 5 months before this had happened. So it was kind of like the writing was on the wall that these guys are going to go fucking gonzo like crazy. And so the stories are crazy. Like they were like literally like chopping like tits off of women. They were like fucking like forced circumcising men. So they literally like grab them and like cut their fucking foreskins off their dicks. They'd shave their like hair. Like they went fucking like this is the type of shit that the Sulle were doing. And so I think the writing was clearly on the wall that yo, fuck these guys, we're gonna join the Indian army. We just have to. And so like again, the politics of it behind the scenes, there was a lot of politics too, because there was a parliamentary system and all this kind of stuff that you need to understand. And I want my homie to come on and talk about it because he's like really aware. But it was like the politics and a lot of type of stuff were really fucked. You know, so Rawalpindi basically, right here, a group of male survivors of the massacre were converted to Islam and subsequently had their case cut to short length. So, like, it was dark, you know? And so how do the Sikhs respond to this? So the Sikhs respond by getting jathas together. This is where the Sikhs always, again, when shit starts to hit the fan, the Khalsa will always come through. The Nihangs are giving out Amrit to the thousands. Tens of thousands of people are taking Amrit. There's copies of Sausakhi being distributed. People are getting ready. They're organizing into jathas. I think there's a picture of Master Tara Singh with Sikh. Master Tara Singh Sikh bodyguards. Okay, I can't find the picture. But basically, like, you gotta understand, like, this is where the fucking Sulle fucked up because, like, how many Sikhs in British Indian Army World War II? 2% of the estimated 20% of the total Indian forces. So what was the size of the entire army? British Indian Army World War II. Okay, so it was by the end of World War II, there's 2.5 million men in the British Indian Army. So 20% of that, if that's 6, that would be, listen, my math's not the best, I'm sorry. That's 500,000 Sikh veterans came back. Okay? Close to that. 500,000 Sikhs come back, veterans of World War II. Think about that. So the Sulle chose the wrong people to fuck with. Because 500,000 Sikhs all come back into the Punjab, and you have like Nihang Singhs giving Amrit openly. They're handing out shastras. The Maharajas of different states are basically buying weapons for the Sikhs to get ready. They're organizing into jathas. And then when partition happened, they just went fucking ham, bro. Okay. So the Sikhs just go buck wild and they just start like killing and chopping down Sulle, right? So like there's a really famous story of like Jathadar Shingara Singh, right? A lot of people like trad him on the timeline. And basically his story is just like, you know, we were just chopping these guys off and killing them like. Okay, so there's like a longer version, but basically like all these, like everyone had some guy in the military. Everyone knew somebody that went and fought in World War II essentially, and they're literally coming back teaching everyone like this, how you're gonna fuck them up, right? And so the Sikhs go in, and they basically take Lahore. A lot of people don't know that. Like they had garrisoned Lahore basically, like the months after, and they just kept fucking shit up, bro. They're just killing Saleh left, right, and center because it was basically like, you started this, we're gonna finish this. That was basically the mentality, and it was dark, you know. There was a lot of Sikh fighting and deaths that the Sikhs were causing. You know, people want to be like, we're victims, like not really. Like yeah, there was a level, but the Sikhs just went in and they were ransacking them, and they were just like you could have ended up, if we took that territory that we had from like those Jathas marauding into, it would have been like up to like, who knows, man, like Gujranwala, like past Lahore, Kasur, like we would have taken a lot of land back. But because Nehru had to honor the agreements with the British and Jinnah, what ended up happening is Nehru, because they kept going, and I think in like December, January, like 4, 5, 6 months later, while the Sikhs are still doing this, Nehru basically said like, yo, these Sikhs, they're a criminal tribe, like get them the fuck out of here. And so it was like a shoot on sight designation for Sikhs, that if you were caught like doing this, you had to stop or you're gonna get killed. And so then after that, Sikhs kind of stopped and the dust settled. But there was hella like Sulla Chatka going on by Sikhs by that point. And the story of Shingara Singh is one of them. And there's also like pretty other dark stories and stuff, but like no one wants to like highlight the fact that the Sikhs balled out really hard either. And so back to my Dadi story, you know, when the whole partition happened and the entire family had to move, my Dadi's dad was like super heartbroken. He came to Punjab basically as a broken man, and they basically came through this part right here. So they went to Jalalabad on Punjab side to Sri Muktsar Sahib, and so I think they were coming from around Sahiwal, like right across. They crossed into Sri Muktsar Sahib. And my Dadi tells me, she recalls as a little girl, for kilometers and kilometers on the road, there were just dead bodies of Musliman, just on the entire road to Sri Muktsar Sahib. Like it was pretty dark. And they weren't too stressed up because a lot of the people from their village were like World War II vets and World War I vets that had like rifles and stuff. So they kind of had like self-protection, and because the Indian army was deployed to like protect certain bands of people, but a lot of people don't have that story, because I would imagine that they did it more for like the Gujarat. The Gujaratis probably got that from like coming from Karachi, Hyderabad. I mean, a lot of people I don't imagine were crossing through the desert. So it was mostly, I'm gonna guess that most of those regiments and stuff were probably helping the Gujaratis, and then to some extent the Punjabis. But like obviously the Punjabis just balled out for themselves. Okay. Now Sikhs joined the Indians, and this is where all our problems begin. This is where now we are getting pushed around and bullied by the Indian state. And the first example is Punjabi Suba movement. Most of the other states in India are basically drawn up on like linguistic lines. And they wanted to do that for Punjab. And so they were like, fine. Like after a lot of fighting, they were like, fine. And the Indians literally got Hindus that lived in Punjab to say that their language was Hindi, even though they were lifelong Punjabi speakers. Okay? This is the type of shit that these games that they were playing against the Sikhs. So if you look at the original Punjab cut into pieces map. Okay, let's see. Fine. Original Punjab before Haryana. Okay, yeah, so look. In 1951, this is Punjab right here. All right? It's not anything like we see it today. And look at what it looks like in 1951. Himachal Pradesh is these two pieces on the corner, but Punjab is like right along the lines here, like super large. I don't know what the fuck Pepsu is. What is Pepsu? Patiala and East Punjab States Union. Okay, so they were Patiala states, basically. All right. And so then they get more land, or whatever. 1951, 1954 doesn't look like a lot of difference. In 1956, the Patiala states join. And then in 1966, they completely chop off one part of Punjab to make Haryana and completely combine the other to make Himachal Pradesh. Now, who was the prime minister in 1966? Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi. Okay? And so, 1956, fine. Okay. You know, Patiala Rajas joined, but, like, look at how they got done dirty, too. Like, part of their land gets absorbed into Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. Like, there's a clear, distinct, like, yo, F you guys in 1966. You know, within that 10-year period, they just got, and so the Punjabi Suba movement, Punjabi Suba movement was a political movement led by Punjabi speakers from mainly Sikhs, 1947 to 66, demanding the creation of an autonomous Punjabi Suba or Punjabi-speaking state in the post-independence Indian state of East Punjab. Because again, the problem became that we're gonna get smoked in elections. We're gonna get smoked on demographic basis. You know, we can't convert people long enough or like fast enough. And so we're just going to have to eat it unless we get the linguistic lines in our favor. But they went, okay, we'll help you. And then they go a little bit harder to fuck us. And so instead of giving Haryana, Punjabi, and Himachal Pradesh their own capitals, they do a shared capital of Chandigarh that everyone gets to share, even though Chandigarh was originally Punjab's capital. So just at every turn, right, we've lost our land, we've lost our people, we've lost the Sikh Bank of Lahore, we lose our land again. This is the thing, Sikhs had two partitions that happened. The actual partition where Punjab became West and East Punjab, and then the second partition in 66 under Indira Gandhi, where Punjab gets fully made into a state called Haryana and a Himachal Pradesh, where they basically used our tactics of, hey, we want Punjabi Suba, and said, okay, you want Punjabi Suba? All right, we're going to do this to you. Because they were infiltrating Hindus to basically say that, yes, we speak Punjabi. So, to the average person's everyday life, yeah, maybe it's not so bad that, like, this stuff happened. You're not really feeling it. It's not affecting you. But these are where some people who have affluence, who are at the top of the food chain, if you want to call it, they start feeling it. They're feeling these things that the Indian government is doing to the people. And this is one of the first examples. And also, like, we just got fucked on every other thing, right? The Sikhs never agreed to the Constitution. They said that we'll only write it if you agree to it. And so if you look in the Hindu Marriage Act, right? Why is there no Sikh Marriage Act in India Constitution? The Indian Constitution does not explicitly have a separate Sikh Marriage Act. Instead, Sikh marriages are recognized under Anandpur Marriage Act, which was initially enacted in 1909, amended in 2012 to allow for the registration of a Anand card. So in 2012, they amended it. The Constitution of India, which first invalidated the Anand Marriage Act in 1909, has failed to even consider the amendments. So the Constitution, which they took them like 3-4 years to write, and they finally dropped it in 1950. According to this act, Sikhs are deemed Hindus, and hence they are supposed to follow all Hindu laws. Okay? What is the Sikh Marriage Act? And so the assent of the President of India was received to the Anand Marriage Amendment Act 2012 on 7th June 2012. So think about that. Think about all these issues that the Sikhs are basically talking about. I also got to open up this Anandpur Sahib. Actually, let's do it on ChatGPT. That'll be better. Because we'll get into that later. So, Indira Gandhi is... So now let's just skip forward to like when Indira Gandhi is prime minister. And she does crazy fucked up shit. She's euthanizing parts of India that she doesn't like. She calls it emergency and to hold on to power. Like, this was a very hungry, power, like, loving woman. Okay, she wasn't actually doing it because I think to them they wanted to keep power in the Gandhi family, the Nehru family. And so she did emergency. So what was Indira Gandhi emergency? Why in the final decision to oppose an emergency was proposed by Indira Gandhi, agreed upon by the President of India and ratified by the cabinet. It was based on the rationale that there was an imminent internal and external threat to the Indian state in 1975. Complete bullshit, but she was basically able to hold on to the prime ministership for a longer amount of time when she did emergency. Okay? So Indira Gandhi, not euthanizing. What was it called when you give people a shot so they can't produce vaccine? Nah, man, not that. The fuck is it called? Sterilizing. Thank you. She did a mass sterilization program against people, like people didn't even know. And so the World Bank gave the Indian government loan of US $18 for sterilization. So they basically sterilized like a huge part of people in India that they basically didn't want to fuck with, you could say. So it's 66. She's doing this, and then how long did emergency last until? From 1975 to 1977, for 21 months. Okay? This happened. And now the other part of the problem was the Green Revolution, where essentially like Monsanto or whatever came into into Punjab, and basically all these farmers had to grow these like GMO seeds. And let's just get like a nice little Green Revolution Punjab. The Green Revolution began in the Punjab 1960s with the introduction of high-yielding wheat and rice varieties, so GMO. This revolution, led by the state of Punjab, dramatically increased food grain production and made Punjab into the breadbasket of India. The Green Revolution in Punjab involved the adoption of modern techniques like plant breeding, irrigation development, and the use of agrochemicals, including fertilizers. Okay. The Green Revolution also faced criticism for its negative environmental and social impacts, including groundwater depletion, pesticide contamination, and the rise of agricultural debt. So the need to produce at a high level to make money makes you take on debt to afford these other GMO seeds, to afford better equipment, and then what ends up happening is you get into debt, maybe a couple of crops fuck up, or the price, right? Then the price thing is something that, you know, the farmers' protest is all about, MSP, because the other system that they're going to introduce was even more trash, but MSP is also trash. And so, like, these people that end up taking out these crazy loans, you know, this is why there's, like, farmer suicide, because they were told to take out these loans for better equipment, better seeds, etc., and then they're not able to pay it off because the price of the crops just isn't there, and it just becomes a whole mess. And then obviously the groundwater depletion issue and whatnot. And so the Green Revolution is impacting the Sikhs because they're not getting the money that they should be getting for how much grain that they produce. I think because of Punjab's efforts, they were able to avert a famine that would have happened right off rip when the Indian state started. And because of that, because thanks to the Sikhs, they never got their thanks, whatever. And during the 50s, Nehru invaded, a lot of people don't know this, Nehru invades Harmandir Sahib. Okay? So, no, I don't want ads from you fucking Indos. When Nehru sent police into Golden Temple to suppress Punjabi Suba movement, community kitchen captured, Langar stopped, 8,000 people arrested. Okay? So the Langar Hall at Harmandir Sahib has been going for hundreds of years, probably at this point. And they stopped the Langar and arrested 8,000 people because of the Punjabi Suba movement. And the Punjabi Suba movement was peaceful. And yet, look, they send these fucking police officers in. You can see a picture right here with their shoes on, no respect or nothing. And so the fact that if you think that Harmandir Sahib was the first time or 84 was the first time something like this happened, you're completely wrong. When Sikhs start to speak out, the fucking government hates it. The Indian government hates it so much. And we have 3 perfect examples of this. Punjabi Suba, the 80s, 84, and then the farmers' protest. Which is why, like, they've kind of sowed the seed of their own destruction because the world hates them. The world thinks these fucking Indians are disgusting and weird. And that's why we want to separate, you know? Sikhs want to separate. We don't want to be part of the fucking horrible image that you guys have in the world. Like, even this bitch, she'll talk about Indian soft power, but India's soft power is Haldi and yoga, which have completely been glorified that no one even gives a fuck that it has any Indian bases. Whereas soft power, something like Japan with samurais and anime, people will completely always respect that this is Japanese culture. No one goes, yoga is Indian culture. I hate this chick so much. So, as you can see, Nehru does this invasion of Harmandir Sahib, right? The British never did it. Think about that. During Jallianwala Bagh, they never did it. But to get Punjabi Suba to stop, right? So, as you can see, Punjabi Suba was a thorn in the foot of the Indian government that they were like, okay, we're going to stop this. We're going to invade you guys. We want to make this stop. But because they couldn't tamp down the protests, they do these shady tactics to essentially make Punjab into what it is today. The Punjab we have today is a fucking joke. It was supposed to be much bigger than this. But again, they played their filthy games with us, and this is what happens. And so, let's see. As India gears up for the thing, where's the situation? Okay, this is when the Punjabi Suba movement, long-drawn political agitation, was at its peak. The agitation was launched by Sikhs who demanded the formation of an autonomous state for themselves within India, where the rules and regulations would be according to them. The movement is defined as the forerunner of the Khalistan movement. The agitation was spearheaded by Akali Dal. However, there was also opposition to this idea. Like the Congress Party was absolutely against it. By 1950, the State Congress Committee, led by Pratap Singh Karon, had put all its strength in opposing this movement. As Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru also rejected the demand of the Punjabi Suba movement. It was only 2 years after Nehru died in 1966 that the Punjab Reorganization Act granted Punjab the status of the distinct state. Arya Samaj was also active in Punjab at that time. That's a whole rabbit hole to go down as well, Arya Samaj. A large number of Hindus in Punjab declined to acknowledge Punjabi as their language. All right, so think about that. Akali Dal, meanwhile, urged the Punjabi be recognized as the official language of the nation. It was against this backdrop that the Prime Minister Nehru ordered that the language data should not be mentioned in the census. By 1951, this language divide led to communal polarization, and rifts in the name of language started to appear in Punjab. So it wasn't even a Sikh thing at this point. It was a language thing, and then the Hindus betrayed us there. Think about that. Nothing to do with Khalistan, nothing to do with separating, nothing to do with any of that. They still said, no, fuck you guys. And so I believe that Nehru promised Sikhs autonomous zone. yeah, so they did promise the Sikhs the Congress leadership in Nehru and Gandhi had passed a resolution 29 annual Lahore session stating that no national constitution framed after the transfer of power would be passed. So they said that no constitution would be passed unless it was acceptable to Sikhs, and Congress leader had reiterated their promise to provide maximal stating that no would be, and Congress leader had reiterated their promise to provide maximal provincial autonomy in the new country as the Qalis would vote for partition on 23rd June 1947. So they kept lying us, hey, we're gonna do everything, we promise, and then they didn't. They fucking fucked us. And so, did Sikhs ever sign the Constitution? So on January 26, 1956, representatives refused to sign the Indian Constitution. So look at this, bro. We're talking about fucking rights for people, bro. Okay? This is shit that the fucking the Americans went to war against the British over fucking taxes, motherfucker. And the Sikhs got fucked every which way possible. Yo, we fucked you on language. We fucked you on the Constitution. Yo, we don't even respect you in the Constitution. Actually, Sikhs, you guys are Hindus. That's what we're going to say in the Constitution. So, well, we promise that you guys get a say in the Constitution, and then, we'll only accept it if you accept it. Sikhs go, we don't accept it. Well, fuck you guys anyways. Well, we're going to destroy your province. We're going to cut Punjab up into fucking 3 pieces from 1. That is enough for people to go to war over. Countries have divided and gone into civil war over less, mind you. Okay? So this bag bitch fucking Indira Gandhi in 1977, after emergency ends, is now going to deal with, when does Sant Jarnail Singh become Jathedar? Look at that. How crazy history rhymes together, eh? Sant Jarnail Singh Pindwala becomes the Jathedar of the Damdami Taksal on August 25th, 1977, following the death of Sant Kartar Singh. Okay, so now let's get into this angle, right? The Damdami Taksal is basically like the university sect of the Sikhs, okay? So the Damdami Taksal is said to have started from Baba Deep Singh and passed down a Jathedarship or leadership position one after the other. Now, the connection to Baba Deep Singh is not very clear. It seems more so that the Gyani Abunga, and this will be important later, the Gyani Abungas were basically like these houses of learning or places of learning that were situated around the Harmandir Sahib complex, right? So you might have seen this, the Ram, let's go original. Gyani Bungas. So these bungas right here that were around Harmandir Sahib, right? There was like multiple of these, but they're also just buildings, and essentially anybody could go to Harmandir Sahib and learn. And so like Bhai Mani Singh had, from what I understand, Bhai Mani Singh would teach Sikhs. He had his own students, and he was located at Harmandir Sahib before his Shahidi, and this tradition just kept going on throughout Sikh history, so that you had like people of high respect and authority and maybe even Jathedar level knowledge of the Taksal being here. And so the thing is, Khalistan Nama guy has a very controversial video about there is no clear connection that this unbroken lineage goes to Baba Deep Singh. But what is clear is that along the Harmandir Sahib complex, right here, along these areas behind the Akal Takht and whatnot, there used to be buildings where, the Sikhs, Jathedars would stay, and the people that end up becoming the Taksal, let's call it, would teach, okay? And so the Taksal is essentially a scholarly wing or sect of the Khalsa Panth. They have a lot more, let's say, controversial maryada or like rahat. They don't believe in eating meat or, a chatka or deg like the Nahangs do. They're a lot more like studious. They're kind of like nerds, you can say. And so Sant Kartar Singh is the So Sant Kartar Singh Jathedar. So he's the 13th Jathedar, and so that makes Santji the 14th Jathedar. And so there's this event happens between Sant Kartar Singh and Indira Gandhi. So let's just read out this thing. Control F. Indira. So in Delhi on December 1975, to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the Shahidi Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, a procession of about 2.2 million people arrived, and PM Indira Gandhi came onto the stage, and the presence of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, all those on the stage arose to welcome and respect her, but it was only Sant Kartar Singh Ji who remained seated. On the stage, Sant Ji spoke passionately about this anti-Sikh act. Many leaders who spoke on the stage said that PM Indira Gandhi had built an excellent relationship with Punjab, after which she said that the Delhi government got Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur martyred, and today the Delhi government prostrates to Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. The same Delhi government who were given reports against the Sikhs today respects and reveres the Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Sant Ji's time to speak was after PM Indira Gandhi. They began with, first, Rajput kings used to give their daughters to get rewards. Today, Sikhs are disgracing themselves if they do the same. For this reason, no Sikh is to marry their daughter to a Monna or a Patit, and the Rahatnama says. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is saying that the Sikh that marries his daughter to a Sikh and does not take any money / dowry, he is a true Sikh of mine and will reach my abode in Sachkhand. The second point is that they clarified that was, we want to ask Indira Gandhi to achieve the rule of the Delhi government. If you have come here to prostrate to Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur, you have done no great act. If Guruji had not become martyred, the masters of this throne would have been a Muslim, and everyone all would be greeted with Assalamu alaikum. You yourself would have been under a burqa. The number of hairs that are on the body of the PM, even if she was to cut her head off that many times and place it at the feet of the Guru, would still not be able to remove the debt she owed to Guru Tegh Bahadur. So basically, he bitch made her in front of everybody. And it was like a public flogging in a sense, where he kind of just said, like, you ain't shit. And then, due to the truth being spoken by Sant Kartar Singh, there's a spelling error right here. This led to disputes being raised by Indira Gandhi with the Damdami Taksal. If anyone disrespected Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they Sant Ji never tolerated, regardless of who they were. Thus, they spoke up against the... Okay, so that's talking about Sant Ji now. So, Sant Kartar Singh, basically, they have this run-in, and so he basically talks shit about her and says, like, you owe it all to the Sikhs. So don't come here acting like don't come acting nuts, because essentially, like, all these Sikhs turn their back towards the Guru in that moment, like, to basically, like, give respect, quote unquote, to Indira Gandhi, which Sant Kartar Singh was just like, nah, bro, we ain't doing that. And so Sant Kartar Singh dies in a car accident, and Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is made the Jathedar of the Damdami Taksal, the 14th Jathedar. And his story is pretty amazing, because... Where is this picture? Because of the fact that no one wanted him to be the Jathedar. Okay? It was Sant Kartar Singh's wish for him to be the Jathedar, which will later go into the fact that this whole, like, you know, he was an agent of Congress thing just makes no sense. And so Sant Jarnail Singh become the Jathedar, and there's a really amazing story of at his Dastar Bandi, which is basically when, like, all the leaders of the Khalsa come to tie a pug on the next leader of the Jathedar. So Sant Jarnail Singh Dastar Bandi. So this is a picture. You know, there's a couple picture where Prakash Badal's in them. You can see. Not this one though, but like, there's a couple where Badal also ties a pug on him. Okay, whatever. So this happened, and then, like, nobody was down with them, because they're like, this quiet guy, this guy that barely speaks, you're gonna get him to do it? Like, this guy can't even, like he just would just, like, be doing seva in the langar hall all the time. This guy, he's gonna lead us at this point. We just dealt with emergency. We're dealing with Indira Gandhi. There's political tension starting to brew. This guy? And Badal gets on the stage, and in his speech says something along the lines of, like, you know, the Badals are here to help. And so if you, the Taksal, need anything from us, the Badals, we will help you. You can come to us for help. And Santaji gets on the stage and basically goes, we are the sons and daughters of Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Mata Sahib Kaur. we are from the lineage of Baba Deep Singh. If you, the Badals, need anything, you can come to us. Basically, something like that. So it's pretty hectic. And so then Santji, becomes the 14th Jathedar of the Damdami Taksal. And he starts to basically talk about off rip all the oppression that was happening with the Sikhs at this point. He just goes straight into it. And so there's a lot of examples. Here, let me see if I can pull some up. Give me one sec. All right. Here we go. Okay, hold up. Let's see, how am I gonna do this? Sorry for this. Okay.
ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਗੌਰਵ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੋ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਦੀ ਬੋਲੀ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਪੀਸਫੁਲ ਕਰੇ ਵੇਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਣਾ 14 ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਸੰਤ ਅਟਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਲੰਗੋਲ 14ਵੀਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਚ ਹੁਣ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨਗੀ ਚ 14 ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਤੇ ਗੌਰਵ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਗੌਰਵ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੇ ਦੂਜੀ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਛੇਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਬਦਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਨੌਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੇ 10ਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੂਜੀ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਚ ਬਦਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਛੋਟੇ ਸਾਹਿਬਜ਼ਾਦਾ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਉਸੇ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਚ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਨੇ ਬਦਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਬਾਬਾ ਮਨੀ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਦੂਜੀ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਚ ਬਾਬਾ ਅਗਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਬਦਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਜਸਪਤ ਤੇ ਲਖਪਤ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਖੂਨ ਪੀਤਾ ਉਸੇ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਭਾਈ ਨਿਭਾਊ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਹਾਥੀ ਤੇ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਸਿਰ ਵੱਢਿਆ ਬਦਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਭਾਈ ਮਤੀ ਦਾ ਭਾਈ ਸਤੀ ਦਾ ਭਾਈ ਦਿਆਲਾ ਜੀ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਛਾਤੀ ਤੇ ਕੜੇ ਮਿਰਗੇ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਚੋਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਭਾਈ ਤਾਰੂ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਖੋਪਰੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਲੜਿਆ ਪਰ ਉਸੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੈਰ ਦੀ ਜੁੱਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਖਾਨ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਜਕਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਲੋਕ ਨੂੰ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦਾ ਖੂਨ ਪੀ
So, he makes a powerful point there where, Sikhs will be peaceful, but there's only so much that Sikhs can tolerate that. And so you have Punjabi Suba, you have the innocent killings of Sikhs. So let's go now to one of the events of this. So you get the Vaisakhi massacre. No, 1978. Okay, so a year after Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is the Jathedar, the 1978 April Sikh I talked about this in another podcast as well, but the 1978 massacre of Amritsar happens. So the Nirankaris, a group that's basically backed by the government because they get, armed protection, they're getting money and a lot of these things. The Nirankaris are basically talking mad shit and just starting fuck shit on Vaisakhi outside of Harmandir Sahib. So they were shouting insults, slogans directed at Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj in the Sikh religion. And you got to understand that the Nirankari, they're clearly doing some fuck shit because, the Nirankari leader said, if you want to take Amrit, he would dip his feet into water and be like, this is Amrit. And he would just, all the stuff he had, right? So he's like, the Guru Gobind Singh Panch Pyare, and he had the Sat Sitare, the 7 stars, and he just made up all this shit. And so, okay, fine, people can make cults. But then using your cult and your power and your government backing to talk shit against the Sikhs? Nah, bro. Again, to the average, person who can't even defend themselves, you and laws protect you, this seems like, well, he's just democratically saying what he wants. Yeah, sure. And so, what do the Sikhs do? The Sikhs don't, go and fucking try to, kill them. The Sikhs go and peacefully protest. They all get together and they protest hey, you guys got to stop this. And the Nirankaris, having government aid, open fire on the Sikhs. and 13 Sikhs are killed right then and there. And this is where you get basically the formation of the Babbar Khalsa, because most of these Sikhs were belonging to the AKJ realm of life. And so you can see Sheet Bhai Fauja Singh's picture right there. He got shot in the face, right in the eye. And it's just not looking good. And so the Babbar Khalsa, what's his face? Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. But the leader of the Babbar Khalsa at the time, they all were like, okay, we're gonna go put this into a court case, and we'll pursue this in the courts and see, right? So that's you do the peaceful thing first, right? The protest is the peaceful thing. The going through the justice laws and the court system, that's the peaceful things. And when you get no justice, then what are you supposed to do? If the government is supposed to give you justice in a system and they don't do it, what are you supposed to do? And this is where they're like, all right, we're going to take it into our own hands. And so then the Babbar Khalsa starts to arm themselves, and so do the Sikhs. And I mean Sant Jarnail Singh guys. And so Sant Jarnail Singh, all the people that Taksal that were around him, they started, getting weapons. Because first off, the adorning of weapons is not something the state can give you. It's something that you believe from your teachings as a Sikh. Khalsa khud khuda. So the Guru told the Sikhs in multiple texts and multiple examples and multiple histories that the Sikhs need to be adorning weapons. You must be able to protect others. And so in the modern day sense, after it wasn't before this event, it was after this event, Sant Jarnail Singh Ji and all the people around him in the circles started getting firearms. I don't know if they were legal or illegal according to the state, but in my opinion, that doesn't even matter. Because if the state can't provide protection, then protection has to come into your own hands if you are a man. If you're a man who believes in self-preservation and dignity, you should be allowed to protect yourself. I don't give a fuck about anything else. If your government cannot provide you this protection, you're seeing this right now in Canada. The fucking police will come up to people and be like, there's a duty to warn, your life is in danger. They're not going to give you protection. They don't hand you a pistol. They do nothing. And they're like, yeah, you're on your own though, bro. So in that case, you have a family, you have people to protect. Who knows when it's going to happen? I think you should take your protection into your own hands, because the government will not protect you. And that's seen in the modern day sense in Canada. And now back then it was obviously worse, because they literally have like clashing groups killing Sikhs. So the Sikhs take their protection into their own hands, and they start adorning weapons the way that the Khalsa should. Okay? And at this point, then, the Jaito Morcha starts. Okay? So let's get a little basis for that. So Jaito Morcha. Okay, so the Jaito Morcha was a political movement launched on 4th August 82 by Akali Dal in partnership with Jarnail Singh Pindwale, with its stated aim being the fulfillment of a set devolutionary objectives based on the Anandpur Sahib resolution. So I think also from when Santji becomes Jathedar from 77 to essentially 78, that massacre happens, and then 79, 80, 81, 82, those 4 years are just Prachar, going around India, spreading, like getting people to take Amrit again. Let's see what ChatGPT says about his actions, because I can't perfectly. So what was Sant Jarnail Singh doing from 1978 to 1982? Because okay, I don't need the background context. So 1978, the clash happens. He emerged as a spiritual and symbolic leader, rise to prominence. So preaching tours. So yes, he starts doing katha around. Pindwale traveled extensively across Punjab, preaching orthodox Sikh values, emphasizing the importance of Amrit, gas, and abstaining from intoxicants. His sermons often included criticism of the Indian government, Hindu right-wing groups, and corrupt Sikh politicians. He recruited followers, especially youth, through a mix of charisma, religious appeal, and militancy. After Harchand Singh Longwal, leader of the Akali Dal, invited him to stay at the Golden Temple complex in Amritsar, Bhindranwale made the Guru Nanak Nawas his base. His presence within the complex gave him symbolic legitimacy and protection, but also became a source of tension between orthodox factions, the Akali Dal, and the Indian state. Lala Jagnanaran is killed in 81. He's the editor of a Hindu nationalist paper, Punjab Kesari, which was widely blamed on Bhindranwale followers. Bhindranwale was arrested in September 1981, but released due to lack of evidence, which further boosted his popularity and made him appear untouchable. And then increasing military tension in 1982 with the Damdami Morcha. Okay, so the events right here. So the rise of prominence, the types of things you're saying about the Indian government. The types of things you're saying about the Indian government was the fact that Sikhs are being treated as second-class citizens. That was like one of the big points of like the government said. So the points I'm saying about the Hindu Marriage Act, about the Constitution, about the Punjabi Suba, all this stuff is what he was saying. And then the Hindu right-wing groups today, the RSS, in today's day and age, imagine how much worse it was back then when in the Constitution, Sikhs are framed as Hindus. You know, there's like a fight for just the survival of your people at this point. The Constitution is not going to help you. You have these right-wing groups that are against you. They've literally in the last year killed your peaceful protesters of your belief system, right? And then Sanskrit also starts going really heavily and showing evidence daily of different things that are happening to Sikhs, right? So later on, we'll talk about General Shabig Singh, but essentially there was the Commonwealth Games, Sikhs rejected at Commonwealth Games. I think it was the 70s or 80s. Oh man, the Sikhs rejected Commonwealth Games in the 70s. Alright, I guess we're just gonna have to chat GPT this one. In various international competitions and public events, Sikhs face restrictions and scrutiny from King Kirpan, which is... Fuck, man. When were the Commonwealth Games in India, man? British Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games in India. Have competed in all... When were... Fuck, man. When were the Commonwealth Games in India? All history. Dude, man, fuck this like ChatGPT shit, bro. When were all the times Commonwealth Games were held in India? Jesus Christ. Fuck, man. Can somebody just search it up and tell me? Okay, let me go Shabig Singh. Let's just look at it like this. World War II, Indo-Pak War, the emergency, Damdami Morcha. During the Asian Games. Fuck, man. It wasn't the Commonwealth. My bad. Thank you. It was the Asian Games in 1982. Shabig Singh, Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora, Lieutenant General Harbaksh Singh, Prakash Singh Bald, and Air Marshal Arjun Singh were all forced to leave the premises of the complex as they were Sikhs. In fact, all Sikhs but a few were allowed to remain in the complex. Okay, so in 1982 this happened, right? So Sanchranal is basically pointing out all these little things, and so there was also killings that were happening to Sikhs. There was one that happened to oh fuck, man, I forgot his name is. I think his name was Nagoke Shahid. I might be wrong. Shahid Nagoke Sikh 80s. No, that's not him. Okay, hold up. I'm sorry, this is all on the fly. Galwant Singh Nagoke, is that it? Yo, the chat's really coming true, man. Yes, thank you. Okay. So Galwant Singh Nagoke was a Singh, and he was killed in 1982. He was abducted. So this is before 84 even happens, right? He had no prior detentions, and this is on Insaf. Insaf is a crimes against humanity in Punjab in India, and they basically documented a lot of Sikhs. So he has no education. He's from Khadur Sahib. He was married. He had 4 children. He was an Amritari Sikh, and he was a Jat. Prior detentions, none. Abduction, preceding extrajudicial execution, yes. May 27, 1982. Place of abduction, roadside. Security officials informed witnesses about destination, no. Security officials uniformed, no. Victim presented before judge/magistrate, yes. Judge magistrate result, police custody, remand. And he's executed. Body returned, yes. Cremation location. Security forces implicated. Forces involved in abduction, Amritsar Punjab Police. Officials involved in abduction, Gurbachan Singh, Deputy Superintendent of Punjab Police, Amritsar. Militancy involvement, yes. Reasons for joining militancy. General persecution of Sikhs supported the goals of the militancy movement. Remedies. Security officials approached, yes. Punjab Police. So, if you look at his body afterwards, it's like all mangled. Galwant Singh Nagoke body. There's like a picture where you could see his body's like all mangled up. Yeah, this is like one of it. But essentially, if you accuse somebody, if this is how a real democracy is supposed to like run, and you're accused of militancy, quote unquote, the idea would then be you go to a judge, you have to get evidence presented against you that you committed an act of violence, terror, whatever. Just subscribing to a militancy movement, right, isn't enough. It should not be enough cause for. I mean, you just can't kill somebody that you picked up. Like, that's just like, I don't know what country. If that's like India was operating on that level, which it was, like, that's just insanity, man. And this is in 82 when things are getting a lot more like tense and political, right? So, let's see. Where's my other chat GPT? Okay, so from 78, where is it? Yeah, so during that time, he's talking about these things, the second-class citizenship, and then the killings of Sikhs, and just everyday occurrences. You know, women being abducted and raped by police officers. You know, shit along those lines. If you listen to his speeches between 78 and 81, you can find a lot of things. He took little elements and things he talks about. They also talk about this in the Battle of Amritsar documentary. He took little instances of things that were happening on the regular, and he would basically like balloon them up into like a bigger situation. Like, let me try to find another one. One sec. Alright, I'm just trying to find one from the documentary that I can like give you guys. Everyone needs to watch that documentary, man. Yeah. There's too much to go through. Everyone just has to watch the documentary. It's fucking lit. Anyways, that happens. The Lala Jagnaran assassination happened in 81. You know, and this idea later on that like Sanji would not like is unwilling to be arrested is completely untrue, because he was under the assumption, and a lot of evidence supported this, that he was gonna get killed in police custody. Because he was wearing an orange dastar that was like, basically like, I'm ready to die. They're gonna end up killing me for sure. And the orange symbolized like, you're gonna give shahidi. So he goes, gets arrested wearing that. But then because they couldn't, and I think it was just too much of a situation, they just didn't. He was too high profile to kill. He comes out, and they start accumulating shastra. And the people around Santaji were carrying firearms, which is in the right of the Khalsa. And this is where the Tarmiya Morcha starts. And the Tarmiya Morcha was basically campaigning for greater autonomy for Punjab, and essentially the ASR, which is the Anandpur Sahib resolution, which was written by Kapoor Singh, I believe. Author of Anandpur resolution. Yeah, Sardar Kapoor Singh. Okay, so this is what the Anandpur Sahib resolution says in the most basic things, okay? Religious and cultural demands. Protect and promote Sikh identity, heritage, and religious practices. Ensure full autonomy for religious institutions like the SGPC. Establish Amritsar as a holy city, free from liquor and tobacco. I'm not even going to talk about that theory. That theory is so dumb. And so this, right off the bat, those things are not even big asks. So many cities in India have holy city status. How many cities in India have holy city status? 7 cities. In Hinduism, 7 cities are considered the most holy. Wait, 7. Okay, yeah, so there's 7 holy cities. Ayodhya, I don't want to read the rest of these, Dwarka, and some other spots, I guess. So they're given like a holy city, or what cities in India have, holy city status. Yo, if you're in the Discord, I can get you the doc. Let's just put it that way. So you got to be in the Discord. Otherwise, you're just never going to get to see it. Control V. Man, fuck, man. Sometimes ChatGPT is so trash when it comes to this. How many cities in India have holy city status according to the government? Fuck, man. In India's holy cities, Hindu worship the nation of India. Oh, man. I can't find it right now. Anyways. So, establish Amritsar as a holy city, free from liquor and tobacco. Again, it's not a big ask. Restructure India as a true federal system with more autonomy to states. So, this is something for everybody. Not even just Punjab. Limit the centre's power to defense, foreign affairs, currency, and communication. Punjab should have full control of its own administration, including internal law and order. Ensure fair distribution of river waters. Punjab should have full rights over its own river resources. Support for agricultural reforms and just prices for farmers. Where does that sound? Or where have we heard that before? Create jobs and employment opportunities, especially for Punjabi youth. Eradicate poverty, ensure economic equality through social welfare programs. Because another thing people don't realize is there was an economy suicide happening in Punjab where companies are literally given tax incentives to leave Punjab and set up shop literally across the border in places like Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. Like, people were literally given like tax incentives and tax breaks to move operations and special economic zones. That is still occurring, yes. Linguistic and cultural rights. Punjabi language and culture should be officially recognized and promoted. Is Punjabi the official language of Punjab? What is the official language of Punjab? What is the official language of Punjab? let's see then. Punjabi language culture should be officially recognized and promoted. Was Punjabi always the official language of Punjab? Okay. Fuck, man. I don't trust a lot of this stuff. Punjabi should be the primary medium of education and administration in Punjab. See, the thing is, the AAP recently released an act making Punjabi the main education language. So the AAP recently released an act making Punjabi the main education language for Punjab. Wow, man. There's I don't know why these Googles are so fucking weird, because if you know on the ground, because then it would just seem like these people aren't that stupid that they're literally campaigning for things that haven't happened. So these things hadn't happened, right? So obviously, how crazy would it be that in Punjab, Punjabi language was not officially recognized and promoted? Yeah, we're still doing the pod. It used to be Hindi, English, then Punjabi. Yeah, that makes sense. And minority and human rights, protection of the rights of all religious and linguistic minorities in India, oppose any form of discrimination based on religion, language, or caste, return Chandigarh to Punjab as its rightful capital, transfer of Punjabi-speaking areas from neighboring states to Punjab, curb central interference in state affairs. So, I think this is a pretty, not gnarly situation that I think, this is pretty this is not that crazy of an ask, to be honest. Nothing in this list is crazy, and this clearly says nothing. This is actually, in my opinion, this is a very pro-India demands, right? Oppose any form of discrimination based on religion, language, or caste for all of India. It literally, even when the Sikhs are asking for themselves, they're trying to help out everybody else. Goddamn, why is the Discord going nuts right now? Oh, damn, the Discord not opening on my computer. Anyways. So, that's what the ASR was, Anandpur resolution. Now, 82, things are heating up. Damdami Morcha goes down and everyone's getting arrested. If you look at the pictures of the Damdami Morcha, it's just crazy. So let's go to the images. Oh my god, just some stupid movie. So there was regular meetings and regular kathas being happen and protests and mass protests, mass arrests. There's stories of they didn't have enough space in the jails, so they would start putting people in the the schools, and literally there were just so many people that there was all these people in from Central City's inner circle that they were doing prachar, and people in the jail started taking amrit and stuff. It was just the energy was completely it was alive, bro. And so this really started to radicalize Punjab, you could say, the Damdami Morcha, because again, if anybody reads the Anandpur Sahib resolution, and this is just the ChatGPT one, so let's go Anandpur Sahib resolution. I think there's you can read a PDF. It's pretty short, 7 pages long. Right, the Shromani Akali Dal, the following aims they want to combat atheism, they wanted to do these things inside. Nothing in the ASR, nothing that Sanchal Alsini was preaching in those years was pro-Khalistani. It was pro-India in a sense of staying with India, but Punjab should get the autonomy that it was promised. Like I said earlier on the podcast, by guys like Nehru and Gandhi. The problem really is here's another thing I just want to make a note of. Google has become cooked, bro. There's certain things you just can't find anymore. I guarantee you to listen to that Kanye song, the one that we know, the HH song, Kanye. It's not gonna be easy to find. If it's not one of the top 5 links, you're not gonna be able to see. I literally said, Kanye, how about listen? Yeah, what is this? Like, it's cooked, bro. Like, Google doesn't work the way it used to. Like, you're not going to find the stuff you want, man. Like, they've just been doing a lot of scrubbing, and people who know, that, like, they're clamping down on the internet in a way. And so that's why, like, some of the stuff that I'm Googling, it's just like, no, you're fine. Everything was fine. Everything's always been good. Even though, like, you can literally search up, like, examples of the government now making Punjabi an official language. And, like, I remember going to India, and I'm literally, like, talking to my little cousins there, and they learn everything in Hindi. You have to learn Punjabi separately. You learn Punjabi from your household, and they don't even teach you how to fucking write it, bro. Like, I would see my little cousins' books and shit that everything's written in Hindi. It's all Hindi. Nothing was Punjabi. So what does that say? That says that, like, this stuff, these demands made sense. So, like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is Google saying, man? Anyways. Yeah, Google has been cooked since 2016. Facts. Okay, so 1982, shit just starts heating up. And then... What's up? Bro, my 2 cousin siblings and their mom speak to each other in Hindi, but speak with everyone else in Punjabi. So cooked. How you doing, brother? That's cooked. Yeah, so the fact that the ASR is saying these things clearly, right now, it seems like it's like to the average fucking moderate dumbass that I know. Like, I've got like family members that are like that. That'll be like, oh, everything's all good. But clearly, shit was so retarded. If protection of the rights of all religious and linguistic minorities in India. Or no, right here, the Punjabi language should be primary media of education. Like, that's such a no-brainer. But you can see that even Punjabi Suba was a problem for that long. We need a new search engine, yeah. Governments and others pay to remove those domains on Google and Internet Explorer. Use DuckDuckGo or Startpage. Yeah, I wonder if DuckDuckGo will give me the information. DuckDuckGo. Okay, so... When did Punjab become the official medium of teaching in Punjab? Language. Okay, let's see what this lady says.
So, why do I have to pick one language? I have a little rant. I see people say,
I don't want to watch that. Whatever, the point being that, like, yo, we all know this was the fucking situation. Like, I don't want to have to find, like, scholarly whatever. Anyways, the ASR is a huge ballooning point where the Indian government's like, yo, fuck these guys. And so then there's evidence that the Indian government starts planning for an attack against Harmandir Sahib, because then at this point, Sant Jarnail Singh Ji gets kicked out of Guru Nanak Nawaz by the Akali Dal, I believe, by Longowal. He uses the Babbar Khalsa to kick him out, and then Sant Jarnail Singh Ji and like all his squad, they just pick up their stuff and they go move into the Akal Takht, which in Sikh precedence is not a crazy thing to happen. Sant Ji was not the Jathedar of the Akal Takht, but he still had Jathedar status. And the Singhs from the Gani Bungas and the different Jathedars did stay in the complex. So that's not even a crazy thing to happen. And also, the Khalsa, Khud Khuda, any Sikh should be allowed in just regular idea of looking at Sikhi to just stay in the Akal Takht. Like, the Akal Takht is also your home as a Sikh when you take Amrit, when you take Pol and you become part of the Khalsa. The Akal Takht has always been the headquarters from the Jaito Morcha to all these things. When the Khalsa is basically in a struggle, the Akal Takht is like the meeting place for the Sikhs to be at. And so Sant Ji moving to the Akal Takht is not that crazy. So I basically typed up a list of all the, the controversial things against Sant Jarnail Singh Ji. I'm going to talk about those, and then why they're wrong, and then also everything about 84. So these are the reasons why Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Pinarale was controversial, okay? Advocacy of armed resistance. Pinarale openly encouraged Sikhs to arm themselves. So that's what he said. And he was right. After 84, the government did something called Operation Woodrose. Let's see how cooked Google is. Operation Woodrose, India. Okay, so Operation Woodrose is a military operation carried out by the Indira Gandhi-led Indian government in the months after Operation Blue Star to prevent the outbreak of widespread public protest in the state of Punjab. The government arrested all prominent members of the largest Sikh political party, the Akali Dal, and banned the All Indian Sikh Students Federation, large students' union. In addition, the Indian Army conducted operations in the countryside during which thousands of Sikhs, overwhelmingly young men, were detained for interrogation and subsequently tortured. Despite its purported success in controlling the armed insurgency in the Punjab region, obviously it didn't, the operation was criticized by human rights groups for the suspension of civil liberties and habeas corpus, resulting in the disappearance of thousands of Sikh men. After the operation, the central government was criticized for using draconian legislation to repress a minority community. So what Santaji said was obviously right. Because if the whole part of getting rid of Santanal Singh because he was a threat, he was terrorism, all that, how come all of this had to happen? So it does kind of prove, like, in after the death of Santanal Singh, he is vindicated in saying all these things. Okay? That Sikhs are treated like a second-class citizens because they just went there, they rounded up Sikhs and they killed them without any real court cases, no justice, no nothing. There's a super sad documentary. The production today is just not in my favor, man. So there's this one scene.
And you say insufficient evidence. You don't even get the state to sort of give a response, deny or accept, and then go on to make an independent inquiry. What kind of judiciary is this?
Okay, right here.
He has a chilling tale about how police butchered his son. Today in his courtyard, there's a meeting called by Kumar and his co-workers. They're here to gather more evidence of police atrocities. These people have lost a relative at the hands of the police. It's an emotionally painful meeting, and people hold up photos of their loved ones who've disappeared. This man, a poor street vendor, is trying to find out what happened to his son, but the police are threatening to kill him.
Disappeared and vanished. Many of them.
Gurdwara Singh begins his story. His son wanted to contest a local election against the relative of a Congress party minister. For this crime, he was dragged away by the police, who once again demanded a huge payment for his release. Gurdwara told them his son wouldn't contest the election, but he couldn't raise the money. Sometime later came the terrible news. The police had murdered his son.
So, like, fuck India, obviously, you know. Like, they were literally even, like, taking Hindu kids. Like, that guy, they're so everything that Santanal Singh said about armed resistance is so clear, bro. Like, that guy is you're gonna say this Hindu guy was not even a Sikh, is what part of the Khalistani movement, that he was a problem, right? That guy's name was Gulshan Kumar. If you look at that picture and and like what they're saying to his father, and they're also using the excuse to basically be corrupt. That other guy that was speaking, his son was gonna contest the elections, and the police picked him up because the guy who was in power basically had some police, whatever, and they picked him up. So if you're saying that this is controversial, that he's advocating for armed resistance, right? You're a goof. Like, this is the whole, if you think America is a dope place to live, right? But you say Santanal Singh is bad for advocating having armed resistance or even having weapons or firearms, you're a bitch. Because America's whole thing is if the government becomes tyrannical, you should be able to carry weapons to allow for that to not happen. And this is enshrined as a right to the Khalsa. And this is also enshrined in the history of what ended up happening afterwards. So I think the proof is there that first off, we should not have to say to the Indian government that our guru said that we are allowed to carry weapons, that we should carry weapons, that it's our duty to carry weapons, but you need to sanctify, you need to validate that. Fuck no. Okay? And then the other point is that he brought weapons into Harmandir Sahib. The Harmandir Sahib, have you ever matha teked at a Guru Granth Sahib in your life? There's literally weapons in front of it. Guru Gobind Singh Ji spends the most time in Dasam Granth idolizing the gun over any other weapon. Maybe because he saw the future of the Khalsa, that or the future of warfare, that it would be firearms. And so the top, the gun, is the most glorified a weapon in all of Dasam Granth written by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Okay? And if you don't believe in Dasam Granth, that the Hindus wrote it, why would the Hindus write that? Why would the Hindus write for the Sikhs to be super down with guns? Doesn't make any sense. Again, most of the time these people saying this are kind of stupid, and they just can't have any true logical ability to debate the actual philosophies of Sikhi in totality of what has happened. So Sant Jarnail Singh Ji saying, hey, get weapons, arm yourselves, be prepared. He is so vindicated for that because of what ends up happening right after. Operation Woodrose is where the Sikhs needed to rise up. And then they do, obviously, with the Khadku led. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm getting into this. So Sant Jarnail Singh Ji's whole weapon thing, A-okay. And then him bringing weapons into Harmandir Sahib, there was fighting during the Sikh-Anglo wars that happened inside the Harmandir Sahib complex, where there was Akali Singhs giving Shahidi right there on the Akal Takht floors, fighting Farangis. Okay? And so what? They just magically these weapons apparated out of nowhere and they started fighting? No, they carried weapons around with them. Akali Nahangs are known to have hella shastras, fucking pistols and matchlocks strapped to their bodies when they went to Harmandir Sahib. So what now it's not good? Yo, you're such a, whoever makes this argument, man, it's just you know nothing. Okay, occupation of the Golden Temple complex. First off, he was invited to stay at the Guru Nanak Niwas, which is part of the complex. So if you look at the picture right back here, one of these buildings is the Guru Nanak Niwas, where he was staying in. And then when the Akali Dal or Longowal or whoever tried to kick him out with the Babbar Khalsa's help, he's like, hey, I'm Khalsa. I'm going to just go live in the Akal Takht. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And he didn't control it. The SGPC got all the money from it. Can you make the claim and prove on paper that when he controlled it, he was taking the money from the Golok and using it for his own things? And then after they tried to say all this kind of stuff, oh, they were raping women in the basements and stuff, but it's okay, who are the women? Can you provide us evidence? Do you have pictures? Do you have any sort of testimony? Do you have families that say that their daughters went missing? No. Just trust us, bro. Okay. Yeah, sure. So the occupation of Golden Temple, nah. Alleged involvement in killings. Okay. By this point, there was so much crazy shit happening. There was so much crazy shit that was happening that some of it was sanctioned by Santaji and some of it, some people were lone wolfing it. Yes, I will admit that there were killings that were happening where if police officers were raping people or women especially, or there was corrupt stuff happening, Sanchi's hey, the law is not going to help us. The law has proven that it's not going to help us. All right, we're going to just take it into our own hands. Again, if you did all the peaceful stuff, you did the peaceful protest, you did the going through the law, you go through all those situations and they fail you, then you have no choice. Otherwise, you have proven that you're Ghulam. You've proven that you're a slave to the state. And a Khalsa will never do that. Khalsa khud khuda. Okay, support for Khalistan. Ambiguous but worrying. While Spinderwala never explicitly declared support for an independent Khalistan, many of his followers and allied groups did. Yes, especially after he died. He basically said around the time that if the Indian government attacks the Harmandir Sahib complex, this is basically the foundation stone for the Khalistan movement. And they exactly did that, and so they kind of fucked it. Anti-government rhetoric. He frequently condemned the Indian state as corrupt and anti-Sikh. Well, the entire world, especially corporations today, in 2025, know that India is super corrupt. Imagine how fucked up it was back in the 70s and the 80s. That's all I'm gonna say. undermining civil authority. Police reportedly could not enter the Golden Temple complex due to his control, effectively making it a no-go zone. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the Khalsa is the controllers of the Sikh institutions. And again, with the Jaito Morcha example, you see what happens when you cede the power of our institutions to government authority and control. The Mahants, the British, they come in. So yeah, fuck them. All right, so this is another question. Why the Indian government justified the invasion? A national security threat. The government claimed Pindwara and created an armed insurgency center in Punjab. So this idea would have to show that Santji was basically saying we're going to create Khalistan, which he never said, he never did, and then go on an offensive. If he's just chilling at Harmandir Sahib, what level of offensive is happening? Where were their battles being fought? Where were their hit and run guerrilla tactics being fought? Okay? Law and order. Punjab was in a state of near anarchy with regular bombings, assassination, and communal violence. All right. I've never heard of no bombings that were happening in 80. Let's see. Punjab bombings 1983. Okay, let's see. Okay, Sikh extremists threw a grenade at a Hindu Dussehra procession near the Golden Temple, killing 1 and injuring 60. That's pretty crazy that if you threw that at a grenade, and only 1 died, that's kind of weird. This incident was triggered by the death of Nahang Singh, who was shot after he attacked a police officer. Punjab police, DIG A.S. Atwal murdered outside of Harmandir Sahib, the holy shrine. Yeah, this one, if you look into it, there's a lot of weird situations because DG A.S. Atwal was like pretty pro Santji. And so Khalistani militants fired indiscriminately at people walking. Okay, like, where's that? Let's see, where's that? Operation Blue Star and White Paper Punjab agitation. Think the Indian Journal. All right. So the state is providing some of these facts. Congrats. Let's see. Punjab police are given broad powers in 83. A festival bombed in Chandigarh. A massacre of 58 Hindu passengers by Sikh militants. Unofficial numbers more than 100 Hindus. All right, let's see this. Hans Raj Khanna, terrorism Punjab cause and cure. All right. Yeah, who is this guy? H.R. Khanna. Hans Raj. So a judge wrote this. Yeah, bro. I'm not falling for state propaganda. I'm not that guy. You're just not going to be able to get me with it. Where was that? Okay. What was the next one? Violent. The news.com in 2016 said that. Interesting. And IREF. Wow, look at this. Look at this website, guys. This is what was cited. Wow. A pink background page. Taken from the 1992 booklet, The Bleeding Punjab, a Report to the Nation, a joint publication of Surk Rekha and Inqalabi Jantak Leak. Editors Amolak Singh and Jaspal Jassi. Here's the thing, man. It's proven that around this time when this happened, there was the Indian government paid for propaganda. Harmandir Singh talks about it with the beer biceps guy. I think that's what his name is. Harmandir Singh, beer biceps. In this pod, he brings up the point that the Indian government used propaganda against the Sikhs right after 84.
I dare you to let me build you a completely
I hate
free
this fucking ads, man.
e-commerce store.
Happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips. Honestly, there is a change in the internet narrative where a lot of young Indians are viewership.
You know, I left as a very young man. People, I'll share this part, right? So I am a recognized as a citizen of America. Bhagat Singh Thind is his name. I should be a citizen. How come only whites disregard? I realize what are the issues? Like reading a column, Swami Wanix, you know.
You'll have to give a little context here also.
Sure, it's commission, national, not just Punjab. has so many cases pending as to what happened with the Sikhs in Punjab. The Rajya Sabha members are non-Sikh ones. I.K. Gujral's son has stood there in the parliament and said, how come we don't know more about June 84, the attack when it happened on Darbar Sahib complex? Sikhs have been talking about it. Why is government not coming up and saying what really happened? There's whole 84 things when attack happened. Sure, there are people who disagreed with it, but one is a state's responsibility.
So is the community expecting an official apology from the government?
There have been apologies, but I have my own take, and community has never accepted them, by the way, because they are... You Google today, what is a genuine apology? That has never happened. There are issues. There are people on national political scene even today who have been cited by non-Sikhs as directing the violence. Again, we are not saying Suli pe chada do. We're saying, come on, it's on your face right now. And this is from a community, who has been called Gaddar so many times, Dude, Sikhs have done everything for India. Sikhs don't hate India. This is a wrong narrative.
We wouldn't have India if it wasn't for Sikhs, honestly.
You know who said that? A Muslim writer has written that, not even a Hindu writer. His name is Allah Yar Khan Jogi. I want to give you some Muslims. Hote Gobind Singh Sunnat hoti for a Hindu hill chief Rajas. It's nothing. When you don't want, people may know him. He's a former ambassador. Okay, they're doing...
Born in the 80s and 90s.
Our conversation started. I actually saw that in last 2 years more because, you have to see where the image of the Sikhs since 84. Nothing did. And I don't know if you know, the government in 84 had hired a company to do a negative campaign on Sikhs globally.
Yeah,
it's called Rediffusion, which became Rediff Mail eventually.
So, again, if they're doing this stuff, these dirty games in the 80s, man, just imagine what they did subsequently year after year, So there's a law order breakdown, failed negotiations, intelligence on foreign support, intelligence agencies suspected funding. So they basically said that the Pakistanis were funding Central Singh, right? But again, if you look at all the stuff he was saying, never did he openly say, hey, we need to separate and create a different country. He said, we want better rights for where we are. Rising civilian casualties in Punjab, including Hindus, moderate Sikhs, and public officials, made intervention appear necessary. A failure to act would have endangered. So, a lot of this stuff, if you're going off the fact that they're using propaganda and they're doing all this kind of, behind the scenes fucked up stuff, then a lot of this stuff is just, you can claim these things, Important caveat, it says, while these arguments made by the Indian state or those sympathetic to the operation, they remain highly contested, especially amongst many Sikhs, civil rights groups, and international observers. The operation's long-term fallout complicates a purely right versus wrong. So, when has the government ever stepped in righteously? The podcast is called the Harmandir Singh with Beer Biceps. When has the government ever in any time in history actually stepped in to do the righteous thing? I would say almost I can't even really name, but I'm sure there must be some examples because then it would just be so sad, right? But when has the government come in to kill its own citizens because it was the right thing to do? All the types of movies people love, The Matrix, Star Wars, fucking Lord of the Rings, all these movies are about the power, the dominant power, the government, the empire killing its citizens. But then when this happens in the real world, you go, no, it's the people that are being killed that are bad. Sanjana Singh is the equivalent of a fucking Yoda, bro, from a rebel world, or the rebellion of Star Wars. And so now if you look at the actual Operation Blue Star, right? So first off, using military force on a holy site. The Indian Army used heavy artillery tanks and assault units in the Golden Temple, the holy sites in Sikhism. They try to make this argument that we were never going to do that. It was going to be a quick in and out operation. But things got complicated, all that kind of shit. But you can't. So the attack starts from June 1st to June 6th, basically, for 6 days. And then on the 7th, it's basically over, right? And then on the 5th day, on the first, so on June 1st, they're basically doing something where they're like shooting at the positions to try to figure out what kind of like what the capability of the Sikhs are. And I think the actual attack begins on June 4th. And they claim that like they never were going to use tanks and stuff. But how the fuck do you get tanks to the front line within a day? Or like how do you basically have tanks already like right then and there? You know, if it was never even planned, like how is it that magically, you know, tanks started showing up to blow down the Akal Takht, unless it was premeditated and they knew? And then there's been evidence that has come out that they were basically had a dummy. They had a dummy Harmandir Sahib built. What do you call it? A Indian Army trained on a Golden Temple replica. Yes, Indian security forces, including the NSG, have trained on a replica of the Black Golden Temple as part of their preparation for operations like... No, not this one. Yeah, so the British helped in the role of Operation Blue Star planning and rehearsing as well. That was another thing that came out recently. And even the Mossad, the Israelis, they helped as well. One of the guys in the army... Fuck, man. Do I need to find this? In Dehradun, yeah, Dehradun. Thank you. See, like, no one's gonna put these facts out because you have to scrub them from the internet. And so, like, even this guy with the WordPress, it's in a book by one of these guys that in Dehradun that they had a replica of Harmandir Sahib. Like, see, even now, like, you're gonna lose an information war because they're basically like pushing you out in the conversation all the facts to make you look like crazy for believing in any of this kind of stuff. And so on June 1st, they're basically trying to like ascertain the type of firepower the Sikhs have. And then, and that was it, right? So now this goes into I had to look for an hour for proof that Babur Khalsa never did the plane attack. Yeah, you got to look pretty deep for a lot of this stuff. But, so this whole bullshit that they weren't going to use tanks, the tanks were ready, they were already there, and the actual assault starts on June 4th night or June 5th night, and then like within 5-6 hours they just bring the tanks on. They're like, fuck this, we're just gonna like boom, right? And so that was like that whole idea that like even Brar, General Brar is like you know, that was like a last resort. I was told to not fire on the Akal Takht or Harmandir Sahib, and then you look at a picture of the Akal Takht after, let's see, destroyed Akal Takht. Yeah, like, oh, this is Barar saying we were told not to fire on the Akal Takht. This is what that looks like, according to General Brar. This is what it looks like when you decide not to attack the Akal Takht. Okay. Anyways, so that's just a whole bunch of retardo Eduardo shit. Timing of the operation. Now this is like so fucked up because Guru Arjan Dev Ji Shahidi Divs was on June 5th, right? These same motherfuckers that go, hey, Sikhs are Hindus. So if Sikhs are Hindus and you guys know everything about us, why would it be on the martyrdom of the Guru who made the Harmandir Sahib? Why would you plan the invasion for that day? Like, whoa, like, you know that so many people are going to go there to celebrate the Guru, going to celebrate the history, and that's the day you decide to attack? Because on June 1st, again, they don't actually invade. They just do firing rounds, and then they also release the cordon. See, this is where, if you really get into the minutia, the minutes, right? On June 1st, they're getting spots and setting up, and then they release the cordon to let people go, right? They let people go and start matha taking and start celebrating, and they're like, yo, we're not doing anything. And then they go, no, it's on. And all these Sikhs, all these people that have come, devotees, are trapped. Yeah, so they opened it and then they closed it, like, instantaneously. That doesn't make any sense. If all of Punjab at that time is on curfew, all this stuff, and now you just open it, and then your plan was to do the attack a few hours later. Like, there was a Joyce Pettigrew, I believe, or Mark Tully or Joyce Pettigrew, 1984 quote. or was it Mark Tully? The army went into Darbar Sahib. Where was it? Oh my god, man. Oh my god. Control F. They went. Find Joyce. So basically, she says the army went into the Darbar Sahib not to eliminate a political figure or political movement, but to suppress a people, because they wanted to basically say, like, anybody involved, if you're here, this is, you're part of the Sikh, you're part of the Khalsa, we're gonna fuck everybody all at once. No, like, fuck you guys. And that is essentially what they did, and the evidence supports that. Because again, like, it's like if you attacked Mecca during Ramadan, or if you attacked the Vatican during Easter, or if you attacked Jerusalem during the Shabbat or Hanukkah. Like, what? Like, what the fuck? So the civilian casualty, use of excessive force. There's that one picture, man. It's like a pretty sad picture to look at. Here, let me pop this up. So there's like a pretty heartbreaking picture. A lot of you might have already seen it. So there's this picture of like all these mothers looking in the different rooms after 84 to see if like they could find their children, body parts or anything, akada or something, so that they could know if whether or not their like children are still alive. Like, that's pretty dark, man. Like, just imagine that. Like, you're going to Harmandir Sahib to find that. So the civilian casualties, they downplay it, but there's so many like messed up stories of like indiscriminate killing, rapings. You know, they're just dumping bodies. Like, the more like deeper down the rabbit hole you go, it's pretty messed up. So the destruction of Kalatak, they said they weren't going to do it. They did it anyways. There was premeditated. They say that it just happened and ended up happening, but it didn't. There's a media blackout. The lack of transparency before the attack, and then the anti-Sikh riots when Indira Gandhi is assassinated. Like, even that, right? Think about it. Like, Indira Gandhi is assassinated, and within like 6 hours, they're able to start pinpointing where all the Sikhs live all across Delhi. Like, that's not just some regular shit, and it was because like they're on live television. The politicians are saying like kill Sikhs, and they're handing out documents of like where the Sikhs lived and whatnot. And so it was pretty clear that they were ready to do this. Like, how do you start getting all these tires and kerosene to throw on the heads of Sikhs if it wasn't premeditated? Like, you can kind of see that they were ready to start killing Sikhs. And the Sikhs' only option was to either, again, like bend the knee or fight back. And you're talking about Khalistan Sikhs, bro. They're never going to bend the knee, man. Like, you just made the worst calculation, and you've caused such a rift between the Indian government and the Sikhs that this will forever haunt and probably be the downfall of the Indian state at some point. So June 1st, that happens. June 2nd, they released the thing so that like pilgrims can start going. June 4th, they properly start the battle, and Battle of Amritsar really goes deep into all this stuff. And on June 4th, they really go, and then the army kept going in, and they just kept getting blasted. And Shahid Shabeg Singh, he led the defenses, and he did an amazing job. Like, his name will be forever enshrined in history, man. It's a beautiful thing. And so June 4th, they're fighting, and like the type of defenses they had, like they'd create like pillboxes in like all over each morcha. Like, each position had like 2 or 3 Sikhs and just like a bucket of ammunition. They said that like they said that when the Akal Takht, they finally had gotten into it, the shell casings were like up to their knees in the basement. Like I heard that somewhere. But so June 4th, June 5th, they're fighting, and then they eventually bring in the tanks. They start blowing up the positions, and then the Sikhs, the Khalsa that are left at the Akal Takht, Shahid Bhai Amrik Singh, Sanchi, all those guys, Sanchi Singh Ji's older brother, they all do their last like hoorah. They do like a last charge out of the basement, and they just go out fighting. And then Sanchi Singh Ji gives Shahidi on the Prakarma of the of Harmandir Sahib, which, if you're a Khalsa, bro, being able to die defending the Harmandir Sahib from the Indian government is probably one of the best ways to possibly go. Like in history, like he will be forever remembered, man. Like he has his own Gurdwara on the complex of Harmandir Sahib now for the rest of the history of the Khalsa. It's such a beautiful, like poetic ending. And I don't, if the Indian government arrested Sanchi Singh Ji before, they never had an arrest out for him, you know? Like, the Indian government were clearly doing a lot of fuck shit that the Sikhs were, like, just tired of. And so the Indian government, what they had to do was just show force. You know, no, I think truly if you go in and they really see what they were saying, they're going to one day admit that, yes, Congress was just like, yo, we need to fuck these guys up. Because Operation Woodrose happens after. And then tell me about this. Operation Shuddha Karn, I believe it's called. Shuddhikarn, my bad. Okay, so Operation Shuddhikarn, part of the following article is taken from the page on the internet by the world. Okay, no. Basically, Operation Shuddhikarn was going to be, the Indian forces also began a program of Shuddhikarn, which is now codenamed for the rape of Sikh women. They joked that the offspring of their rapes would change the genetic makeup of the Sikh community, and they would kill the resistance in this way. Many rape victims took their own lives, unable to live with the ongoing humiliation at the hands of the Indian police. And so this was basically a state. So Operation Woodrose is to kill the men, and Operation Shuddhikarn was to rape the women into creating a completely, like, basically it's like terror. It's like it's a psychological terror thing, and then also for like whatever that reason that they were saying. So like, if Sanchi Singh is dead, the movement should be gone. Why would you go this hard right after? And also, again, like 50 other Gurdwaras were attacked on the day of Operation Blue Star in a coordinated effort by the Indian army. So then again, it's like, if Sanchi Singh is the only problem, why is the whole Sikh community basically being targeted for this, you know? And so I think Battle of Amritsar does the best on this. And yeah, I think if you completely end up looking into this for yourself, you go through it day by day, you understand that what the Indian government did, like, they sowed the seeds to their own future destruction. India will probably become like a separate state into different pieces. Oh yeah, and this whole like Sanchi Singh Ji was Congress's agent makes no sense, because how could Indira Gandhi, if that's even true, get him to become the Damdami Taksal? But even if that didn't happen, like, where's the connection? Where's the paper trail? Where is them meeting each other or anything? Because he teams up with the Akali Dal, like, when things really start going nuts. So how is that even possible, that if the Congress is trying to thwart Akali Dal, like, even that, the fact that the government was trying to impede a political party is pretty, like, undemocratic and unconstitutional, right? But obviously not according to to India and what they were doing. So the attack happens June 6th. The Sikhs are shaheed. They identify Santaji's body, and you got to understand, like, people were like losing it, man. Like, there's stories of like Sikh military officers like abandoning their posts, because they also knew that this was going to be a situation. So right before the attack, they started transferring all the Punjab and Sikh regiments outside of Punjab and like away, really far away. And then when they heard of the attack, they killed their superiors. They like literally like got a bunch of arms, jumped into trucks and headed their way towards Harmandir Sahib, because they knew. And it's forever like sowed a distrust between, you know, people who are Khalsa and then the Indian government. Yeah, Tarmi Fojis, they were called. And so there was a lot more death than we really understand, and the numbers can, because there's even stories of like when people found out about the attack, people from the pins were rising up and they were heading there, and like there was like choppers in the air just mowing down Sikhs in fucking fields and shit that like we don't even know about, that like if you kind of know, you'll know. Indian forcefully deployed some Sikh regiments in Blue Star. Yeah, like it was so gnarly, man. And I think like 1984 is like the event of every. So the British had their moments, Jallianwala Bagh, Jaito Morcha, the Mughals obviously, and now this is the one that the Indians did. The Indian government, they state. And I think whenever you just do it, the writing is on the wall. And I think that what Santaji was saying about taking poll, becoming part of a Khalsa, arming yourselves was very, very accurate. Lack of accountability. No high-ranking officials or military leaders have been held accountable for the civilian deaths or destruction caused. Like that's the thing. Like the army was called on its own citizens. Like take that into consideration. How many governments have used the army to kill its own citizens? Did this just like not understand my questions? Like, is that what the fuck is going on? So it's not uncommon in the world. So Tiananmen Square massacre, the Soviet Union, Stalin's reign, the United States Wounded Knee massacre, Kent State shooting, Operation Blue. Look at that, Operation Blue Star. Assam and Manipur insurgencies. Pakistan did it as well. Myanmar, Burma, and these are all like look at where in this line this says Iraq under Saddam Hussein. The Nazis did this in Kristallnacht. North Korea did this. The Sri Lankan Civil War. Soviet Union. So the Nazis, the Chinese, communists, the Soviet Unions, and then India. So like how much are you going to bet that this was pretty justified when you put it against all these situations? The state of Nazi Germany said that it was like under law, it was all okay, like this was allowed to happen. But if in hindsight, clearly it isn't. And so Sikhs are fighting an uphill battle on narratives. We're fighting all these situations. And so to some extent, you just got to be like, yo, Khalsa Khud Khuda, like if it's firearms, it's all this, like you have to give us basic dignity. There's so much strife. There's so many issues. Yeah, that's all I have to say. That was the pod. Commemorating June. I don't know. Like I feel like it wasn't like a slideshow. Like I'm literally just trying to go off the dome. It could have probably been better. But again, if you have the chance to see something like if you have the chance to see something like Battle of Amritsar, definitely check that out, because that will give you like everything in a really like researched manner, and it'll give you a lot of details about the whole situation. But I think Sanchi is the GOAT. I think he was right. I think in hindsight, everything he said was true. And what the Indian government did afterwards is gonna forever haunt them. And I think like it's gonna be a shit situation. Y'all, I'll send it to you. But I'm gonna stop the recording for the pod, and we'll be back on stream.